the ones that I have, the one that I have, it whenever you get like messages and like a picture is sent in, then it'll show like a little like square where it says this is an IMG like image. Yeah, they don't show you the actual image. So that's why I was just like,
mine's a hand-me-down. So my daughter got a new one or whatever, and then she gave this one to my son. My son doesn't wear watches, so I ended up. They're like, if you can have it if you just get yourself a new, watch band. Done. Watch band. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's pretty neat. I'm not used to getting photographs and everything on my watch.
Yeah, it's weird.
And like when Yahoo Sports send me something, it's like you get the whole image, not just the article, but all the images and everything with it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And then they taught me the day how to find my phone on it, right? You just hit the button on your watch and the phone starts dinging. You do that for my keys and
I did that.
Sunglasses.
I did that on accident. So it's kind of like today. We had a worship meeting at Lake Church, and I was trying to press like no notifications so the sound wouldn't come on my watch.
Yeah.
And I pressed the wrong button. I pressed the find iPhone button. So in the middle of like Eric is like talking and he's like vision casting for the worship team for the church. And as he's doing it, all you hear is and I'm just like and then to make it worse, I pressed it again to try to turn it off, like the button. So it kept like it did like a whole other cycle trying to find the iPhone. And I was, and it was, yeah. So okay. All right. I got to be used to using those again. So,
hello everybody. Welcome to the Testament. My name is Jeff Keck.
And I'm DLowe.
Today, hey, we're going to talk about the podcast. So I've had some people recently that have asked me about the podcast. What is the podcast? What do y'all talk about? Who do you get for guests? What's the purpose? What's the goal? All that other good stuff. And I know DLowe, you just got through telling me too, that you've had some questions, about the podcast recently as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that. They just been asking like, "Hey, I see you, on this podcast thing. Like, what is that? Like, what are y'all doing? And like, what? Like, that's really cool. What y'all talk about?" So, no, I definitely had some questions about the podcast as well.
So, interesting tidbit of information for you here. We are going on our 4th year with the Testament podcast.
That's crazy.
So, I actually initially launched a trailer for the podcast in December of 2020. And then in January 2021, launched the first episode, number 1. So all of 2021, all of 2022, all of 2023, and here we are in 2024. So, I think we've launched 142 episodes as of this recording right here. And DLowe here has been with me for the past, for the winter. At least you started on the winter. So
I've been here for all 4 years.
All 4 years.
Do you notice? I've just been in the corner.
In the background.
Yeah.
Hiding.
Yeah, pretty much. I was watching.
So yeah, hey, so the Testament podcast, the original intent of the Testament podcast was to hear the testimonies of God in people's lives, right? How did you find Christ in your heart? What are the things that God has done for you in your life since you found Christ in your heart? What kind of struggles have you been through? What kind of things have happened in your life that either the enemy attacks or God just puts you through some trials, in order to bring you closer to Him? Those kind of things are what we try to ask questions about and seek, because we know that the stories that people tell in these podcasts are meant for somebody. I don't care if one person listens to the podcast in a certain week. That's probably the person that God wants to hear it. And so I've been touched personally with these every 142 episodes we've had have been super amazing episodes to hear about what God is doing. With DLowe coming on, we're kind of branching off a little bit, with DLowe and I ourselves doing some topical discussions. We'll continue to do that. Yeah, we're going to continue to do that, have those kind of talks. We'll have summer talks that do that as well. But yeah, that's the intent, is to hear what Christ is doing in people's lives with this podcast. DLowe, so when did you first hear about the Testament podcast yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm trying to, because I definitely heard about it before, you even came to me and asked me about, to come on and do, my own testimony. That's episode some number.
133.
133. I knew that already. I just was testing Jeff to see if he remembers all his episodes.
I just remember saying I was going to get you a shirt with 133 on it, which I haven't yet.
I'm still waiting on it.
Nice hat, by the way. I love your hat.
Hey, you like that, right? Hey, you like that? I like that, huh? Yeah.
Pull DLowe aside, ask him what TTP means.
Yeah. Nah, the first time that I heard about the Testament podcast, do you by chance remember you're not gonna remember this, the date of which I interviewed with, or like that you interviewed with me?
No, but keep talking. I'll find it.
I'm trying to think, because it was a few months before, so I found out about the podcast in 2023. And I want to say it probably was maybe around. No, you did. Okay, so you did an event. You did an event with Brandon Barton, where you hosted him and he sang.
Music Monday Live.
Yes,
those were the Music Monday Live summer music series.
Yes. And the one you did with him, it was the one at Grounds and Gold, not the one at Nehemiah, the one at Grounds and Gold.
Right. By the way, you interviewed October 30th.
Oh, my birthday month. I didn't even realize that. My birth month.
That's right. It was the night before Halloween. How could I forget that? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't remember that either, to be honest. Oh, that's crazy. But yeah, so anyways, it was around the hype around then. But even then, I'm trying to think more so, not even just when, but how I found out about the Testament, how I heard about it. I don't remember how it got.
So I remember the first time I asked you, right? So you and a group of other people came to a missions committee meeting or something at Lake Church with the missions team, right?
Yes.
It was during that time that I remember mentioning something about the podcast, and then afterwards I asked you to be on it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you really blew me off. You were like, I don't even know who this dude is. I don't really want to do a podcast.
True. That is not true. You mean when you approached me at church? Yeah, I just ignored somebody at church. Somebody approached me at church, and I went, hi, yeah. No.
The second time I asked you about it was right before, may have been Night of Worship or something like that, where we were both going to be on stage playing and we were rehearsing. And I remember asking you about it either before we went on or during rehearsal that week is the second time I asked you, which was really like, hey, let's nail down a date.
Because it was on Sunday. It was during service, or not during service, but after service was over when you came to me, and that's when you brought up the idea of hey, and I was like, yeah, for sure. And then we never locked in and nothing else. And then you're right. You're right. And then afterwards, that's when we locked in a date. But I had known about it before then, even before the missions. I want to say maybe I knew more about it. I think I want to say I did a little more research into it. Once you did the thing with the Music Monday Live, Music Monday Live?
Yes, Music Monday Live.
Or Monday Music Live?
Music Monday Live.
Okay.
Because we used to have a segment on our social media called Music Monday.
Okay.
Which I would just push out there, great worship songs every Monday.
Yeah. So it was, I think, so I knew about it before then, but I think around that time was when I was like, what is the testimony? Like, what is it really? So I started actually watching. I watched the 2 testimonies. Don't ask me who they were because I don't remember. But I remember it was a woman. The first one I watched was a woman. I listened to was a woman. The second one I listened to was a man. I know that for a fact. I just don't remember their names.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of, I guess, to answer that question. That took me 7 minutes to answer that question, but I answered it finally. I finally answered it. Is yes, it was around that time. So I would probably say like summer of 2023, I guess. That way, that helps me. That makes it broad enough to where I don't have to like actually give you a real authentic answer. I can just say summer. So yeah, it was about summer 2023. So I actually learned about it.
The first time you ever listened to an episode, first impressions.
Oh man, this guy talks too much. He's annoying. Like what? Nah.
Who's the guest? Because I let the guests talk a lot.
I like how you swung it around. That was a good. No. No, I thought it was cool. Like I said, I've told you this before. I've talked, and I usually end up telling our guests the same thing, but. I love hearing testimonies. You know, I just think like every time that I hear one, like it's a blessing and I get re-encouraged that, you know, not only what I believe in is real, but also I get reminded of different ways or different think pieces. No, it's called a think piece. Yeah. Anyways, I get reminded.
I have never heard those two words together.
A think piece?
Yeah.
It's like a think piece. No, the word's think piece.
It's okay. Get back on track. Back on track.
But basically, I get. So one, I get reminded that yes, like what I'm believing in and what I am following is real because. So it's affected this person in the same way that I've never met before. We don't have the same circles. Yeah. So obviously this is a real thing. But also on top of that, it also allows me to understand their thought process on how they, you know, either pushed through a certain obstacle or got through this, or even just shows the beauty of God and what he's doing in their lives. And it reminds me of how I can get through either the same type of struggle or a different struggle, but still get through it the same way, you know? Yeah. And so I love hearing testimonies in general. I just love them. But first impressions of it were like it's first impressions were like, okay, this is cool. You know, again, I like testimonies. You know, I'm interested in hearing it. But it doesn't really have a like, and this is me being genuinely honest. I'm like, it doesn't really have a following. Like no one, it doesn't seem like no one listens in, or like no one, you know, pays attention to it. I guess if you will. I did that. That was one of the things I thought about. I was like, it's, and so also thinking like, oh yeah, like maybe he like just started off on it, or you know, it's you know something that just. Just kicked off. But that was kind of it. I mean, there wasn't nothing like I didn't have this, you know, this think piece where I dissected it and was like sitting here going, oh my gosh, like it's kind of more so like, oh, this is cool. Like I wonder where he does it at. But yeah, it could.
So it's interesting that you talk about followers and people following and everything, right? So over the course of my 4 years of doing this podcast, the follower numbers have just, you know, compared to when we started to now, have just boosted more and more every year. Yeah. There's fluctuations, right? Course. So in the wintertime, when the holidays are around, the listening numbers go down. But then they'll come back up when everybody goes back to school and people start getting back in the routine of listening to it. You see the numbers come back up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like, but I'm with you because I feel like these stories that God is doing to people, I feel like more people need to hear it.
Yeah, I agree.
And so one of the things I don't see, and this is for me appealing to you out there, is one of the things I don't see is when you see us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, share it, you know, literally, share, follow, send it to a friend. Yeah. Because a lot of people are going to see your posts. And when you share something, a lot of people see your posts. And that's how people find out about us. We just had a guest on who found out about the Testament by hearing another person's testimony or have had them where a guest has offered, you know, or told someone else they need to go share their testimony. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways, but if you like the Testament podcast, and I know you do, there's a lot of listeners out there. So I know you like it. And so share. hit like, hit share, make a comment, something that other people who are your friends also can kind of see what God is doing in other people's lives as well.
And that's a good point that I wanted to touch base. And please share. And like, we're not asking, for us, for our enjoyment or for our growth, whatever whatsoever. Like, it's more so centered around like what these words and these stories that people are bringing when they come talk to us. It's someone who is maybe a follower of yours could really use that word, could really use that story in what they're dealing with right now. And how are they going to get that help if they don't see it, right? And so share it for the simple fact that God could be reaching through more people just by hearing these awesome stories. Again, like I said, like I told you, I just said it's helped me out a lot. And so that's all we want to do. That's the main goal of the podcast is just to share the beauty of God, share his gospel and allow more to understand like that God loves us and he wants a relationship with his children. That's it. He wants to sit in communion with us. He loves it. He loves us. And so again, that's the main goal, the main reason, why Jeff kind of roped me in. Yeah, look, listen. No, it's really dope. Jeff has a really dope vision for the podcast. And again, the reason why it's so dope is because the vision is to display God. Like if you're a believer, what more could you want out of anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So please share. Please share.
So I'm glad you brought up vision. And by the way, for those of you listening, DLowe and I literally just hit record on the cameras here. No script. We haven't thought about this, but I'm glad you brought up vision.
Okay.
So I want to ask you, and then I'll follow up with mine, of course. But since you've been co-hosting with the podcast, no doubt you've thought about the podcast. No doubt you've thought about the future of the podcast, maybe how we can get God's word out a little bit better in different ways. What would you consider if I asked you, hey, DLowe, in your conversations with the Lord, in your discussions with self or whatever about this podcast, what do you see as a vision moving forward?
That's a crazy question. That's a good question. A vision moving forward for the podcast, man.
It's not my first time to ask a question, man.
Yeah, but a lot of their questions don't be that good, so this one was a good question. Okay. Vision for the podcast, man. I think we could do a lot more of engaging with people, right? Expanding it in that way, which is kind of cool because actually already doing this a little bit, but the conference you're about to go to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like allowing us to expand the podcast in a way that maybe isn't just in this room alone, right? But going out, talking to people, interviewing people. And I'm not necessarily saying like street preaching or nothing crazy like that. I'm not saying that. But maybe going out to college campuses, during the semester. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. And setting up a table, maybe asking questions. I think, we can expand also in the way in which we use social media. I think that's really good. Again, getting God's name out there, and spreading what he's doing in more ways than just, what we're doing now, right? But putting it on more platforms, that way it could be seen. I mean, even opening up and accepting like people that want to invest and donate to help us with more ventures would be dope too. So being, just be more open in that aspect as well. Maybe creating partnerships, stuff like that, right? That allow us to be able to use what we have to then go and get more to then same thing, right? Expand God's name. So that's kind of what I thought about. I do have other ideas. I was gonna talk to you about something I was thinking about today off camera.
But since you asked.
But since you asked, yeah, you can leave this in or not. But I thought about it'd be cool to start doing like reaction videos. And so react to things currently going on in the world, things currently going on social media. There's a lot of things with like celebrities that involves God, you know, or involves spirituality, right? And so being able to like kind of tap into those, you know, make responses and reactions to those, I think would be really cool. I think people would really love to kind of hear our different, you know, perspectives on those situations. Because there's a lot of stuff like that where, yeah, just to kind of see what either what God is doing in the person's life, you know, or something you can take away from that as well. But you know, let us know actually too. I want to do this. Like, what are some other ideas that, you know, we could, you know, expand the podcast? Now, I'm asking you, the viewer, the listener, please like send in ideas, things that y'all would like to see, you know, things that y'all would like to hear about. I think more topical episodes. I've gotten some good compliments already on like the topics that we have. And I think they're so not straying away from testimonies, because as that was the origin of the podcast. And again, like I said, there's a beauty in testimonies that need to be shared, but having more topical videos, you know, branching out, I guess not branching out, but continuing to do the same thing with that. I hope that I have made any of the vision clear that I just laid out. I feel like I've been going up and down like a roller coaster, but
you're not far off from stuff. So with me, you know, I have this overall blanket ministry called Shockwave Ministries, right? Within Shockwave Ministries is the Testament podcast. Also, it's eventually we're going to get to missions work and helping people get some mission stuff done. And also the music stuff, right? So Music Monday Live was part of that. And I fully intend, and this is when DLowe's talking about, hey, we can use financial support. Here's one of the ways we can certainly use financial support. If you know me, you know I hate to ask people for money. So I'm going to leave it up to you to pass the word along, and maybe you can help. But we're going to try to do a music festival concert late spring to early summer. I'm looking for an outdoor venue, and I have an idea in mind, and I'm talking to some people about it, where even though it's outdoor, there is a large covered area that we would do this under. But we're going to need a stage. We're going to need sound crew. We're going to need, you know, to pay the artists to come, but just a night of worship. And if you came to any of the Music Monday Live summer series that we did last summer, man, those were just worship. You know, I mean, everything was out the window. Personal stuff that we were dealing with was just gone, and we're just worshiping. It was such a fantastic time of worship, and I want to continue doing stuff like that. And we want to do one here in 2024, a big night with 2 or 3 artists to do that. So that's part of the vision.
Being one of the artists.
Yeah. So that's part of the vision. The part with the podcast itself is just like DLowe said, I want to get out of the room. By the time this episode airs, we will have already done a women's conference in Granbury called Activate Women.
Fire. Check out the video.
Well,
when that comes out.
When it comes out. So,
my bad.
You know, we're going to literally set up a table in the lobby and let people sit down and tell us a God story about their lives, and however many that happens, right? And even if that doesn't happen, even if somebody doesn't want to sit down and tell their testimony, we're going to give them an opportunity just to share with us or with others or whatever. So getting outside of these walls, being able to do that. I love what DLowe said about going to college campuses. I've been to college campuses before, interviewing college presidents and interviewing other faculty members, but I would love also to get out there and interview students, you know, interview people who have a God story to share on college campuses, other churches, anywhere we can go and plop down our table and microphones and hear about Christ and what he's doing in people's lives. That's what we want to do. And you talk about street preaching. Hey, I don't mind going to an event and we're literally not sitting at a table. We're standing up, walking around, and one-on-one interviewing people as we walk around. I don't mind that. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's hear what God's doing in your life. And sometimes, as well as I do, I mean, sharing your testimony is the best way to share the gospel, but it's also a difficult thing for us to do sometimes. So maybe we need to step out of these walls and go to you instead of you coming to us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's legit. I am excited about the music festival stuff. That's right up my alley. But even then, like, man, that have like full bands and like, oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be legit.
Yeah. So the Music Mighty Live series last summer was the tip of the hat, right? It was the start, the kind of get your feet wet thing. So now I want to do a multi-artist one. In fact, one of them, we had to cancel one of the Music Monday Live series concerts. So we're going to bring that artist, Ashley Lagunas, we're going to bring her back and put her on the list and then have a couple other guys come and play. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hey, we've had so many musical guests on this show. We can stack it. We can stack it with musical guests who will just worship all night.
That's legit.
So it's going to be fantastic. So listen, I think the sky's the limit on this. We don't do anything in the podcast unless we feel like God is telling us to do that.
For sure.
And what I love about having DLowe here is he's completely on board with that. And, if DLowe doesn't agree and he's like, man, I just don't feel like I'm being led with that, then we'll just continue to pray until God, solidifies our decisions together, because this isn't my podcast. This isn't DLowe's podcast. This is God's podcast. And so we want to make sure that we are on track with God as we move forward with this too. So I'm with him. Look, if you got ideas, put them in the comments section or call us.
Literally.
I'm not putting my phone number on the screen. But if you know me, you've got it. So
don't put mine either. Please don't do that.
Listen, if you watched what episode was that I did that? It was on I think it was on our welcome episode or something. Whenever you first came on, when I put this. Did you not watch it? You don't watch the episodes we make?
Yes, I do. You have.
If you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about.
You didn't say what?
When I put the phone number on there for the Santa Claus. It was the Santa Claus phone number on the screen.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to do that again.
Yes. No,
if you watch that episode, you know what I'm talking about. The little phone number on the screen. If you called it, it was Santa's hotline. Anyway, that was funny.
Was it
I can't remember. I think it was the one where we introduced you as the co-host. That welcome episode.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it was.
So anyway, hey, listen. You can find us on Facebook. You're looking at us right now, so you know how to find us, right? Facebook, Instagram. I'll even tell you. Let me pull something up here. That's a funny noise. Here it is. Okay, let me tell you where this podcast is at. Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and a bunch of other ones that I don't even know. I had a friend one time ask me about the podcast. I told him the name of it. He pulled up his podcast player. I don't even know what it was called. Never heard of it before. And it was on there. So
that's legit.
Spotify does a good job of putting these podcasts out to other platforms as well. And that's where I host it, through Spotify. So it gets out there. You can find the podcast. But we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Not on Twitter or X, now it's called.
Yeah.
Just because, we're just not on, we're not on that. DLowe said he wanted to start a TikTok channel for us. That's all on him. I don't know anything about TikTok. Except
bro, that's what
clocks do, bro.
It's one of the biggest platforms out right now.
I think Instagram is still bigger than TikTok. I think as far as numbers go, Instagram is still up there.
Yeah, and Facebook probably is too.
Yeah.
Because you have the older generation that's still like on Facebook. Yeah.
Older generation. My daughter's on Facebook. She's not older. She's 21.
No, I'm not saying young people aren't on Facebook.
Look, I had a MySpace account.
I did too.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Were you like 3?
3, I was in elementary school. And I think the last time that I touched my MySpace was, it was either 5th or 6th grade. Because then after that, I think that's when Instagram came out. And like, after that was when Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat started to get really big, at least in my age. And so that's what we were on during middle school. Like 7th and 8th grade, it was all like Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. So yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching the podcast. It's because of you. We have 142 episodes.
Literally.
And it's actually, it's because of God that we have 142 episodes, but it's because of you listening that encourages me to continue listening to God to do it, right? So I appreciate it. DLowe appreciates it, I guess. I don't know. You can ask him.
I do. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. It is just like Jeff said, not to brain fart.
Like, share, follow, get your friends, your family to like, share, follow. Hey, go to the website and get yourself some merch, like a hat, like what DLowe's wearing or something.
TTP.
Show it off. Make people ask what that means and tell them about the Testament Podcast. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. Folks, if you want to learn more about who Jesus is, visit us at thetestamentpod.com. That's thetestamentpod.com. And click on the gospel message at the top of the page. Also, you can click on the Testament Podcast tab and learn more about our podcast and see what our most recent episodes are that we've launched. In addition, we're always looking for guests who want to brag on God. So please send yourself or someone you know to thetestamentpod.com and drop us a line with your interest, or email us at thetestamentpod@gmail.com. We'll send you all the information we need in order to book you for an interview. Remember, do your part. Help us get these testimonies out there. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and then like and share our posts so your friends can see what we're doing too. So thanks everybody for listening. Bye.